This is a quick overview of the Insta360 Pro 2 camera. If you're looking at renting and are based in the UK and have a Pro 1 and a Pro 2 available, and you can contact me here if you're interested. So the Pro 2 has improved on the Pro 1 with better resolution, dynamic range, live monitoring and stabilization. It records to 7 SD cards simultaneously at a bit rate of 720 megabytes per second. It records a simultaneous proxy file that allows for the no-stitch integration into Adobe Premiere, whereby you can import the footage directly from the Pro 2 into Premiere and start cutting straight away without the need to stitch, and then only stitch the footage that makes the final cut. This is a great time saver over the previous workflow involving hours of stitching footage and making proxy files, given that most computers won't play back 8K footage. Even without using the no-stitch workflow, and I often don't because I often use Final Cut Pro, it's still great to have these ready-made proxy files that you can look at straight away. Apparently the no-stitch workflow is coming to Final Cut Pro at some point. Insta360 have built on their anthropomorphic design and given the Pro 2 this pair of rabbit ear-like antennae. The antenna marked AP screws into the AP marked socket on the camera, and this extends the Wi-Fi range up to about 10 meters, which is double that of the Pro 1. If you need anything more than that, you've got the Farsight monitoring system, which gives you up to 300 meters with decent resolution and decent frame rate, and it works really well. I'll talk through that in another video, how to set that up. The antenna marked GPS screws onto the GPS marked socket on the camera, and this embeds location data into stills for uploading to Google Street View, and is great for making virtual tours. There is a screw mount on top of the camera for mounting something like an external recorder, like the Zoom H3 VR and the Zoom H2N, both of which are ambisonic recorders, or lights such as the Ambit 360. All that disappears in a final stitch. If you're making ambisonic recordings, use an external recorder. The internal mic on the camera, the spatial array of mics, is okay, though if you're filming outside, it's virtually useless as it's going to pick up even the slightest bit of wind noise. If you're filming outside, use one of these and use a windsock on the top. The H3 VR also can record height information and can record ambisonic B format, which can be much easier to use in post-production. Like the Pro 1, the Pro 2 also has a noisy fan, which is clearly audible on the internal mic and any mic too close to the camera. Fortunately, like the Pro 1, you can turn the fan off on the Pro 2 for 15 minutes at a time, which is fine for most things. If you're needing to do any longer takes or longer live streams, you'll probably want to mount an external recorder some distance from the camera, like further down the tripod. The Pro 2 can record 8K monoscopic footage at 60 frames a second, which is great for anything with fast motion, and just gives that sense of hyper-realism to the footage, which is great if you're viewing it in a VR headset. It can record 8K 3D stereoscopic at 30 frames a second, which is what I tend to use most of the time. And it can record 6K 3D footage at 60 frames a second, which is a nice compromise between decent resolution and high frame rate, and 4K at 120 frames a second for slow motion, which is very useful. You can shoot in 3D and still stitch in monoscopic afterwards if you wish. I often shoot in 3D, and if I can't get a decent 3D stitch, for example, if people get too close to the camera, the safe 3D distance from the camera is about 2 meters. If people get too close, I still have the option of stitching in monoscopic. You can mix and match 3D and monoscopic in the same stitch. So, for example, if I'm filming a stage performance and I really want the main performance to be in 3D, and I'm filming from the perspective of the audience, and the audience is just too close to the camera, which invariably they are, I can keep the front two lenses in 3D and convert the back lenses and side lenses to monoscopic and still get a great image. you'll need a more versatile stitching program for this, such as Mystica VR. The stabilization on the Pro 2 is very good. You can literally walk around with it handheld and it looks like a gimbal. You can put it on top of your head and carry it around and mask yourself out of the shot in post-production. Though if you're tall like me, the perspective is just going to be way too high. So you can try using stuff like skateboards, electric wheelchairs, remote control vehicles. If you don't want to do anything with motion, use the Pro 2. It's, the stabilization is so much better than the Pro 1. You'll mostly want to be controlling the camera via the app, which works very well, though it's worth knowing how to use the camera via the on-camera buttons, as it's sometimes a lot faster. I've been in situations where the app has just been too slow to connect and I've missed important shots. So just know how to use the camera via the buttons, and I'll go through all that in a separate video. The battery life on both of these cameras lasts for about an hour. I use these external batteries, which I would clamp to the tripod, and that gives an extra 3 to 4 hours. And that works very well, and they are included in the renting packages for these cameras. So thanks for watching. If you're interested in renting any of this stuff, drop me a line, and please subscribe to the channel.